Mordor, prepare for battle in the final of the Rise of Mordor Discord tournament. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish, and welcome back to some more Total War Rise of Mordor. Big shout out to everyone who played in this tournament and for the main lead of the mod for sending this replay into me. I appreciate it. The replays have been absolutely amazing recently, and I can't wait to see what the final has to offer. So the final is between Canary and Spiff. I don't actually know who's playing who in this battle, like who's playing the Easterlings and who's playing Mordor, but I'm excited to see how Mordor does perform in this engagement. So we obviously have a pretty sturdy force from Mordor and also the Eastlings. So let's take a look at what the players have brought. And both sides have dedicated quite a lot into missiles this time. We have seen, I think in the semi-finals, both sides not really focusing too much on the missiles and just kind of going more for rush builds. However, we are seeing both sides taking a lot of missiles, which I always love to see. Adds a lot of flavor, adds a lot of diversity to the ranks, and allows you to kind of play a lot differently than just forcing you into, I have to go forward and I can't stop. So on the front line, we do have 3 of the Easterling Elite Bowmen. These guys are pretty sturdy in melee combat as well. We then have a front line of Clans Guard, a pretty high tier infantry unit, and then on the far right hand side we do have the elite, the amazing Warlords of Rune. These guys are beasts. They are the goats of the Eastling faction. Hey, get it? Get it? Yeah, these guys are really good. And then supporting them we do have a handful of cavalry as well, 5 units of horses, which are now moving up looking to harass. It'd be pretty interesting if the Eastlings got a horse archer cavalry unit as well. I imagine we wouldn't be, too far off seeing that. So maybe in the next couple patches we will get a horse archer unit, which would be very useful for like these battles, just taking 1 or 2. Then over on the other side we do have some Haradrim vassal shock cavalry, and that's going to be one of the things that really lets Mordor down. They don't really have access to a lot of really elite cavalry that they can spam, like unlike the the Eastlings have some pretty mid-tier cavalry and elite cavalry, and they can just bring more of a mid-tier cavalry to fill out their ranks. Whereas if the forces of Mordor, they have to kind of bring these lower southern vassal shock cavalry, or the elite units over here of the Servants of the Eye. These guys are pretty goddamn heavy melee cavalry, but they're expensive because of that, so you can't really just spam them. So that's going to be the Eastling force, a pretty balanced force. You've got some great shock infantry, you've got a front line of spears that will hold the line, some archers, and then obviously a lot of elite cavalry. Then for the forces of Mordor, we have on their front line, we have a unit of Uruk spears. Again, not a bad unit. They're going to be supported by some Uruk Throng, which are basically just like swords rather than spears. And then another unit of spears on the right hand side, again supported by some Orc pillagers. So we've got some cheap axemen who will just throw themselves into combat. Not exactly a deadly unit when it comes to receiving damage, but it will just be so offensive that if they get into a flank, they will chop apart whatever they can. We also have some Morgul Legion halberds. These guys are beasts. I mean, just look at them. New armor in the latest patch, looking absolutely amazing. We also have another unit of Orc pikes back here, just to hold the front line. Another unit of Morgul Legion, 2 units of Morgul Legion. Then also have the Servants of the Eye, some a reserve Morgul Legion back there, and then a couple units of these Uruk archers as well. So again, a pretty sturdy force. You've got more of an aggressive build when it comes to the infantry for the forces of Mordor, but they have a lot less cavalry, so where they've spent their money isn't on just spamming cavalry like the Eastling player has taken advantage of his good cavalry. They've kind of gone more for that infantry, and it does leave the Eastlings with a pretty pretty high chance of being overrun, honestly. When you only have 6 units of infantry but 4 units of frontline infantry as the Easterlings, they might find themselves, not being able to withstand every single assault coming in from Mordor. But then again, Mordor, if we take a look at their army, they've taken a huge amount of halberds and pikes. So it seems like instead of overrunning the enemy position, they're looking just to take them on head on and then kind of cut through them that way, which again is not a bad idea if they can repel all the cavalry coming in. And again, if you can get the pikes, if they play very defensive with their cavalry, they utilize their positions, like utilize this river, which will slow down oncoming cavalry charges. Then these pikes and the Morgul Legion and stuff like that can get stuck into the cavalry fights fairly quickly if they decide to have them around this formation. And it seems like both sides are just sitting back. Obviously in the tournament as well, there will be a dedicated defender and dedicated attacker, so one side will have to push the other one, and it seems like we're going to get a fight over the river for this first tournament finals match between Canary and Spiff. It's going to be good. It's going to be exciting to see, what players bring out and what they bring out in the next couple games. As I do have a couple more replays to show you guys from the final. So again, if you want to see that, if you want to see the finals matches, then do let me know in the comments down below by dropping a like and a comment. It really helps out and it lets me know that you guys want to see more of this. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. Whilst I've got a little bit of a lull in this. If you want to see more content like this, then support me on Patreon for as little as $2. It really helps out the channel. You get some awesome bonuses, and hopefully, you guys will enjoy what I've got planned for the Patreon coming up in the future. And right now we are getting the first couple volleys coming in from the Eastlings, hitting away these Uruk spears. And yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea for the Uruk player to just rush his opponent. Like, he has so much more infantry that he can wrap around quite nicely. However, as they do just push forward, it's going to leave like vulnerable units, whenever we see something like this happen where we have the front line pushed so far away and the archers sit back obviously to get their volleys off, it leaves them, it opens up gaps for cavalry to move around and just push in through all of these positions. And we do need to be very, very careful. However, the cavalry is currently running all the way through their own lines right now, which is going to be staggering them and slowing them up a little bit. And maybe even this unit of Uruk spears can pin them down a little bit, get 1 or 2 hits off. Right now, though, we are seeing the units for the Eastlings actually fall back right now as a front line. The Orcs are just in an all-out charge. But yeah, look at this. Like, all of a sudden, you see all this cavalry coming around and immediately a charge, seizing the opportunity. And this is the problem by rushing up. You leave yourself very vulnerable to this. And this cavalry will pull out of this engagement after killing, 15 of these guys, or 20, 30, 40? 40 for barely any sacrifice. They've lost 1 or 2 units right there. So a really, really good play right there by the Eastling players, seizing the opportunity, and they really need to make this happen because they are so outmatched when it comes to infantry. They need to make sure that they can take their advantages like this. They can take the advantages when the Uruk spears get out of position. They dominate them. And all of a sudden, we're kind of initiating into a pretty big cavalry engagement. And once again, this is probably not what the Uruk player wants, because Mordor has a limited amount of cavalry, and they're kind of throwing this engagement into the enemy line. Even though they're getting some good kills on the Lancers, they're still finding themselves engaged against a unit of spears, against a unit of Warlords of Rune immediately. And yes, reinforcements are coming on, but these reinforcements aren't going to be helping in this cavalry fight. So right now, this is not a good engagement for the cavalry, especially once they're so outmatched to begin with. We do have the Uruk Throng charging in against the spear lines. More units coming up. We've got the other units of Uruk spears going up against the Clans Guard right now. But yeah, as I said, like, this is not a good cavalry engagement. When you're so outmatched, they want to pull out of this as quickly as possible. Wait for more reinforcements. Wait for the rest of the battle line to get up here, because you're basically taking a cavalry fight where you're already outmatched and you're fighting against other units as well. Definitely wait until the rest of these Morgul units can get up. Wait till your Orc pillagers can get up. Let your archers continue to hammer in and do its work. Over on this other side as well, we are engaging, and this is exactly what they want to be doing right. Right here, they can quite quickly get their Morgul Legion stuck into this fight. They can quite quickly reinforce with more units of cavalry and move in. However, the Southern Lancers are just no match for the heavier units from the Bane of the Steppe. These guys are heavy melee cavalry, and even though they might win an initial charge, they're not going to win a prolonged engagement. Unlike these guys, Servants of the Eye are definitely more of a match for the Bane of the Steppe. However, so much missile fire is being focused. 3 full units right now, and because there's no like envelopment going on, these archers can just fire freely. And that kind of comes into the fact of the Mordor pick. Mordor's army is more about going straight through your opponent rather than outflanking it. If they've got more pillagers, maybe some more lighter spears, they could definitely go around and hit these archers. But right now, they've got a lot of these Morgul Legion and pikes, and that kind of plan is just to go straight through your opponent with that. Bring the pikes into the front line, hit these guys hard, and obviously the Uruk Throng will do a very good job of whittling down these Clans Guard already. They haven't lost a man yet, and the Clans Guard are being whittled down fairly fast. But we need to be very, very careful. Same over here as well. Again, I apologize about the lighting. Whenever I look from this side, the lighting's gross. Whenever I look from this side, the lighting's amazing. If only we could always get this lighting 24/7. I wonder if there's a way to like make the sun, because it's basically whenever you look into the sun, the lighting looks gross. Yeah, the sun. Where is the sun? Yeah, over here. Whenever you look in, I mean, that just looks horrific, right? It looks awful. So I wish they could just make it so that the light, oh my god, if only they could, because this looks amazing. If only they could fix the lighting in this, it would be very, very good. But anyway, enough complaining about Total War Attila, and more about this awesome battle that is beholding us. And then we do have the servants of the Eye charging in into the side of the Warlords of Rune, who are being engaged by the Morgul Legion. This is a great, great fight matchup for Mordor, having all their forces moved in. The charge from the Varai Lances not really being very effective because they charged into their own units. So pretty nice stuff. And honestly, this battle is turning up to be very close so far. Balance of power extremely even. And it's going to come down to who can clean up these cavalry fights quicker. And it seems like on the left-hand side, the Bane of the Steppe for the Eastlings are going to be doing a lot of very decent damage. I love the look of this dude right here. Absolutely amazing. I mean, they're fighting Southern Lancers and then one unit of Servants of the Eye, so it's going to be very hard for them to win this, with all the missile fire coming in as well, taking down a large portion of these Morgul Legion, who aren't really doing too much. And the front line is holding. That's all the plan is for the Eastlings, right? Have the front line hold extremely well, and now we're finally getting the Orcs Pikes being brought up. These Orc Pikes probably should have been brought up, you know, as the initial fight began. Because of these guys being brought up, you'll be taking down these guys a lot quicker. As we do get the pikes being dropped down now. Looks so cool. We're ready to push in. And now they're going to start whittling down their opponents. Archer fire in the distance. Hitting away. Doing some decent damage. Even though it doesn't look like it, they will be racking up the kills. But it's really going to come down to these cavalry fights. Servants of the Eye going toe-to-toe with the Lancers. They should obviously win this one. And if we take a look at the overall battlefield, we have some cavalry in the back, some Lancers moving in, hitting the Uruk Throng from the rear. And that's just going to be devastating. You know, watch these numbers drop. Even with the reinforcements of the Uruk Throng here to try and catch them. Look at them numbers drop. Oh my god. Yeah, you just cannot afford to let your unit get hit right there with no counter punch. Brutal stuff, losing over half the unit. The archers are hitting, but then again another charge coming in. And the Bane of the Steppe is such an expensive high tier unit that they leave themselves very, very vulnerable. And they do get committed because of that high cost, but if they can just rear charge like they're exactly going to do once again, they just pay for themselves, they really do. And even though they are sacrificing horses every time they do this, they're killing so many more once again. Let's take a look at the kills. 50 kills right there, just from one rear charge. And they're just playing ping pong right now. Into the archer lines, into the front lines. And that comes because I guess the forces of Mordor just stretch themselves way too far. Yeah, obviously they are winning some fights over here, but you know, this cavalry unit is just destroying their only win condition. And that win condition is to break through the center, because I don't think they're going to be winning elsewhere. However, I say that the Servants of the Eye are doing an amazing job of pinning down a large amount of this cavalry, and we have another unit of Morgul Legion turning up to the fight. So I honestly thought that this side was going to go heavily in favor of the Eastlings, but honestly, like, it's not going massively. They're putting up a very good fight, but they have managed to break on this side, and this is going to give them just complete dominance over the rest of the battlefield. The front line just hasn't done its job, and you can see like how much damage these pikes have done when they were engaged, but the fact that they haven't been engaged longer has definitely hampered them. It really, really has. You know, if these pikes were engaged from the beginning of a battle, this unit would maybe be down to a lot less than they are right now, and that could have been a huge help. And right now, the cavalry is just running amok in the background. As we said, ping-ponging around the units, finding the loose ones, bringing them down. Even the archers have the balls, the audacity to run through here and set themselves up to again hit them. And barely any archers left. The front line looking pretty devastating. Cavalry moving around. I think the Eastlings are going to be taking this one. A rear charge once again. And I think it was just unfortunate. I feel like the forces of Mordor committed way too much to the flanks when they should have just gone through the center. They should have played way more defensive. Tried to have the cavalry fights like behind the enemy lines here and here, but keep your front line pushing constantly. Yeah, I think if you would have the cavalry fights like here and here, rather than more accessible to the enemy positions like here, because you're kind of fighting behind the Eastling front line, which is just not what you want to do whenever you have a cavalry disadvantage. If you can, obviously, you know, every battle is a little bit different, but if you can, you want to make sure you try and have it on your front line, behind your front line even, because that way you can commit your infantry to your opponents. And I don't think Mordor had to be risky with their cavalry fights. They were going to win this front line. As you can see, that they basically have won these front lines very handily, even with cavalry rear charging. They just needed to play more of a defensive game. Had the enemy cavalry come onto them and push on slightly. But still a very good battle from both sides. There was just the Eastling flanking force was just way too strong, and these halberds couldn't really commit to the fight as effectively. Because as soon as this cavalry got around the side, it was just GG. See some of the servants of the eye being taken down, trying their best, but just not enough. So I'm very interested to see, because obviously in every single pod, each player has to play a different faction every single time. So they won't be able to play Eastlings and Mordor again. Obviously they can switch if they want to, and someone else play Eastlings and someone else play Mordor. But they will be different factions. And there we go. The Mordor general gets taken down now. And that's going to be GG, I think, for the rest of the forces. So the Eastling player does take the victory this day. And we'll see, obviously, the kills. And we'll see who was playing who. Because I don't actually know. It doesn't tell me when we load into the save. So Canary was playing as the Eastlings. And he got a really dominating victory there, I would say, only losing 800 of his 1900 men, and Mordor obviously deploying way more, but still I feel like that was a confident win for Canary in that engagement. So we'll have to see who does come up on top in the final match. Unfortunately, the players forgot to save the first match, so the next match I think will be the determining one. So I don't know actually who won the first one, but I assume Spiff did if they're going to a third match. So we'll see who comes up in the next match. And again, if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, look at that cavalry force, absolutely insane. Over 500 kills on the Bane of the Steppe is just wild. And I said, taking that engagement on the flanks of the enemy, it was just kind of a death sentence, I think, with the lines. They should have just tried to plow through them. But again, it's hard to kind of commit to everything when everything's happening so fast. So they kind of just have to sit back and rely on what they can do when they need to do it. But yeah, insane. And I love seeing the Warlords of Rune as well doing their thing. So yeah, this is the first match of the finals. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Massive shout out to all my Patreons. Make sure to check out my Patreon if you want to help support the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.